So what preparatory work are you guys accomplishing as far as your upcoming mission?
This is tough because aren't we? I feel like Mahogany might have to lead the way on this.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to a plane where other people have been and can ask about, you know?
Well, we already asked a guy about the maze, and we found out that he's insane.
Yeah.
And also our nemesis.
Also, considering that we're going to go do a mission for the ciphers, I feel it would be out of character for us to do any preparation.
So what are you doing in lieu of preparation?
Lou.
I say we just get ready to go. Let's go.
Okay.
Mahogany will just show up at the gymnasium when he feels like everyone's mostly rested and recovered and leveled up. And go speak with Reese.
Okay. So we'll start at the top with Riot. What are you doing during the downtime?
Let's see. I want to talk to Kelian, I guess. Because I know he is a rogue. And Riot really wants to plan a heist.
Do you mention that with Liberation in earshot?
Why would I?
Excellent question.
Exactly. I mean, because I had a thing that is heist-esque.
Oh, well, what's your thing then?
My thing is to put a hit on the we're gonna knock over Locksmith's Row in City of Brass.
Is there money in that, or is this like a just freeing the slaves operation?
I really do feel like this is Kelian's influence talking.
There's no money involved, but it's doing the right thing, yeah?
Doing the right thing means there would be money involved.
Not necessarily.
The plane of fire is infinite, right? Which means there's infinite slaves. So really, what are we accomplishing? I was fine with freeing the slaves of Sigil because Sigil's he makes his circle with his hands. It's finite.
Yeah, I don't think Riot's gonna be down for your locksmith row operation. It's doing the right thing, but there's lots of right things to be done, and one of them is parting a bunch of idiots on their money.
Which idiots?
Oh, that's what I got to talk to Kelian about.
So go ahead and lay it out for Kelian.
All right. So Riot goes up to Kelian and asks, "Hey, you're rich, right?"
Who wants to know?
I'm just saying, I was thinking about stealing a lot of money, and I don't know where people who have a lot of money keep it to be stolen from.
I mean, it's probably concentrated within the Takers. I mean, there's no bank in the Hall of Records, but obviously, since they're all about tax collecting,
So where's
Takers would be the focus of
robbing
them.
Say that you're a taker, like for real, like a good one.
Okay.
Where would you go to look for money that somebody is holding out on you for tax collection purposes?
Mahogany sidles towards the corner of the room.
Well, I'd go to the Hall of Records, look up who owes what money, and then just like, hey, give me money. You owe the Takers all of this back cash. Rather than making you pay all of it now, why don't you just give me some now, and then I'll lay off your case for a month.
And that works. People pay up.
Yeah, it's. I mean, think of it this way: would you rather owe, say, 100 gold pieces immediately and be subject to the governors or whoever, or pay what you have in your wallet now, and we leave them alone for a month, come back in a month, and they do it again. That keeps getting you money.
And Riot's face falls a little bit. Like that. That's not really the kind of like the pocket change in some rich folks' wallet is not really what I had in mind here.
Well, it's the long con, right? It's the they don't pay the debt, because if they ever pay the debt, then there's no bond between you and the guy.
That's so.
So you might want to make sure that they never. Well, that's what we fucking do. I mean, you who want to have a giant heist, sure, great, I'm in. But you're looking for a concentration of wealth. I mean, Hall of Records will show who owes money. You can probably hit some of the higher end districts in the ladies' ward. I mean.
Okay, so you think? Okay, well, let's talk about one of these higher end people in the ladies' ward, right? Where would they have the money?
Would Kelian know that? I assume Kelian would know that in terms of.
He worked in the Hall of Records for many years.
Yeah, so.
I mean, it's up to Kelian how much of this he would know.
Well, what I mean, there's no like major thing that Kelian like. Oh
there
are
actually
no
banks
giant...
in Sigil. If that's what you're getting at.
Here, Kelian, let me give you a list of people who might be ripe targets. And Liberation pulls up the list of dudes who Rowan Darkwood gave to him. The people involved in Jandar's slavery operation.
Okay.
And Kelian turns his head to Liberation, almost confused.
Maybe he's right though. Maybe blackmail is the way to go here instead of heist.
I'm gonna point out that you guys are hopefully smart enough to not have this conversation in front of Nath.
Definitely not. Liberation is one thing who is like would faintly disapprove, but Nath is just like, you know.
What is Nath up to then?
Nath is researching the way Sigil's laws and the way they work. He's pretty much gonna spend all of his time with the governors before you guys are ready to go.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how frustrating of a process does Nath find this to be?
Goes to 11.
Break the dial off.
Nath, do you have any contacts inside of the courts that would get you in for these meetings?
I mean, I just wanted to read the rule books, but I guess attending a couple of court cases would be a good idea too.
Approaching the courts, there's crowds of people on the steps, and we're talking like the dregs of humanity, and some of them are wearing Indep colors, which remains an oxymoron even now.
Right now, Nath is disguised as a low-level member of the Hardheads again.
Okay. And there are no small number of Governor Toughs at the top of the stairs leading into the courts, who are trying to kind of keep this mass of humanity organized.
Is this like waiting for traffic court?
You're not there.
Oh.
Go sit in the corner till I call on you again. Nodal, you too. And so just the din of the crowd is incredibly, incredibly loud. And it's impossible to get anywhere near the courts without starting to shoulder through this mass of Sigillians.
I don't have any problem shouldering through people, so...
You just push your way up to the front?
Yeah.
And you start meeting some resistance partway through. People in the crowd. Some of them just get out of your way. The dingy ones, the scrawny-looking ones. But pushing your way through, some people start giving you static. They start out by telling you, you have to wait for your turn, wait for you to be told where to send. But then they see you're dressed as a hardhead. And one particularly burly-looking barrier looks you up and down. So you've got a lot of nerve showing up here today.
What's going on today? I just need to do some research.
And he's starting to draw some attention as he's calling people over. And instead of answering your question, he lets you know in very plain terms that he thinks it would be a damn shame if he had to crack your skull on the cobblestone here on the steps of the Great Court.
I'm not looking for any trouble, friend. I'm here on official business. Don't have any problems with you or yours.
And you're hearing people in the crowd calling out in response to you. Things to the effect of, if you're not looking any trouble, why would you show up here at all?
And I'm just going to tap my badge. I need to be inside the court today.
At this point, a couple of governors have come over. And kind of bizarrely for the Fraternity of Order, they are armed, but kind of awkwardly armed. Like they were issued a short sword or something by a clerk inside the court and told, this will get you out of any trouble. And they come down and they begin questioning you as to why you've shown up. Who sent you? Did Factal Saren not get the orders from Mechanus? They're acting like you should already know why you don't belong here.
No, I've been off plane for a few days, but the last order before I had some other business to take care of was I had to come here and familiarize myself with some of the base laws for enforcing street-level crimes.
Okay. Two of the governors that came out to meet you are starting to try to pacify the people around you. This big burly barrier does not want to be pacified. He absolutely wants a fight. The one who continues to speak with you tells you that, unfortunately, no harmonium will be admitted to the court until the entire crowd, that all comers have had a chance to be processed and their cases sent to the fraud department on Mechanus.
Fraud on Mechanus? What?
And he
what
said,
exactly
he says he doesn't have time to answer your questions. This should have all been in your briefing. You're going to have to go back to your faction and receive new orders.
I'll shrug, nod, and start making my way past the crowd.
And as you turn and make your way past the crowd, this barrier shouts after you about turning tail and running, how all hardheads are cowards, etc., etc. And you exit the crowd bewildered as to the nature of Sigel's laws. So, are Riot and Kelian going to plan a heist?
Kelian
Yeah.
is very much intrigued.
Okay.
I think that's the general idea of what Riot wants to do. And I don't know what Kelian's plan for the downtime was.
Here's what I want you two to do then.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm taking care of these other characters, just like jump in the text chat or something and put together this heists.
Okay.
And we'll figure out who you're hitting and what the target is, what the level of risk is, and what the plan is for getting in and getting back out.
Gotcha.
If you're going to take one of Liberation's offered targets, then he will be down to help as well.
So we're not really looking to go off plane for this. Sorry.
Even the people that are in Sigil. That
Oh, I see what you mean.
yeah, this is something that happened when we were at when we were with Darkwood on Eastguard, and he gave the party a whole bunch of dirt on people who were buying slaves from Jandar. And so Liberation's looking to put that into use.
So Liberation, what do you do with your slave?
Oh, immediately as soon as we're back in the City of Doors, he saw no reason for her to stick around.
So you just tell her that I don't want you around. Get away from me.
No, so I just tell her that look, you have no. I don't consider you to have any debt to me, so don't even think about sticking around because I don't really. Yeah, no, you owe me nothing. Just go and Go and live your life as you see fit.
She tells you that... I mean, at first she doesn't seem to understand what you mean. And she tells you... She said that the Duke transferred her contract of service to you.
And I'm dissolving that.
And she asks what... by what authority are you able to dissolve such a contract?
Is Nath around when you guys are discussing this?
That's up to Liberation.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
Let me see
sure.
this contract.
I had no contract.
And she explains that it's writ in blood.
Liberation rolls his
That
eyes.
it's a contract of infernal nature.
Is there a
Right.
ritual I can use to retrieve it and study it?
Liberation shrugs. I don't know. This is all new to me.
Nath, make a... Do you have any kind of, like, planner knowledge for any of the lower planes?
Let me look at my background. I made notes on all the planes I've been to. You spent some time on Gehenna, but not a lot.
Okay. Make an Arcana check at disadvantage.
Okay. Uh, 13.
Okay. Something sounds suspicious about her story. But having no first-hand knowledge of how these kind of contracts are drafted and enforced in the lower planes, it's unlikely that two people sit down at a desk and sign a piece of paper.
Right.
More information than that, though, the exact nature of the contract or the binding, you're not sure, but something seems suspicious.
Liberation lets out a low whistle and then says, "Okay, well, there's only one group of people that I know of, and they're probably not too happy to see me, but I can't think of any other options. So I think maybe it's time for another a return trip to the Tasteful Explosion."
So you're gonna sell your slave?
No, I'm going to find out what the nature of this contract is and how to dissolve it. That's what I'm going to do.
I love
What
this
do you
idea.
think we should do with the succubus while we're on Sigil?
Is Keely around to hear that question?
I don't
Sure.
think so. I think you guys are off doing your heist right now.
Kelian wants to be. He's there.
Well, my goal for this session is everything that happens in Sigil before we leave again is kind of in this nebulous span of several weeks of downtime. Because everybody had some stuff that they wanted to accomplish. So I'm not really worried about sticking like fastidiously to the timeline for right now.
If Kelian wants to be there for this conversation, then he's totally free too.
Sorry, I was contemplating a heist, so I only heard half of the conversation. What are you doing with your succubus?
She's
The
not
question
mine.
was asked, what should we do with the succubus in the meantime? And
Oh,
Riot
okay.
said, is Kelian here?
So, before getting dragged into a heist, Kelian's action was going to be traverse the Great Bazaar to look for some sort of succubus-resistant talisman or artifact. That's what I originally planned. So
Okay.
Okay, and how much are you willing to spend on such an artifact?
how much? Let me gotta go through my character sheet here. Oh, he's saving gold. 250 gold, let's say.
250?
Yeah.
And okay, I'm gonna put a pin in that because this sounds like it could be fun.
Meanwhile, back to the Succubus conversation.
Mahogany, there's a knock at your shop early one morning.
All right. Yeah, and I'll go down and wake up. And meanwhile, thankful the whole time. Oh, it's early morning. It's not the middle of the night. This is gonna be a good day.
And outside the door is a small child holding a bundle of papers in his hands. And he asks, "Can I have a moment of your time?"
Oh,
No,
God.
and Mahogany shuts the door.
So back to the Succubus conversation.
Mahogany says to
No,
the other people,
You shut the door. Back
I'm
to
in the Succubus conversation.
No, this happens when you're alone at your shop out some morning.
They're having a Succubus conversation? Damn it.
So back at the Succubus conversation, where does this go?
Because I mean, Liberation's looking to see what the only thing he can think of to try and dissolve this contract would be to seek to figure out like what the nature of it is directly from the source, being devils and shit.
She tells you that now that Grant Darius is no longer directly controlling her actions, she's able to answer questions about the nature of this contract.
Okay, then so tell me, like, what happened? How did you come to be in his service, and how can I free you from this?
She was in the service of an abyssal lord and was not able to deliver the number of souls, essentially, that this lord wanted. He was not pleased with her performance. And so he gave her the choice between destruction or a term of service with Duke Grantstarius. In return, Duke Grantstarius gave him some magical boon or weapon or powerful demon-controlling magic, something or other.
How long?
100 years and 100 days.
Liberation rolls his eyes.
By what? By which plane's calendar?
And that question's kind of beyond her. She only really knows about the abyss.
So if we bring her to a plane where time travels more quickly, you could run out the contract faster. Though I don't know about any that it travels at such an accelerated rate that you could do it in a trivial amount of time. How much time is left on the contract?
She's not sure, because a lot of her time spent at Grant Sirius's places was spent in this like bizarre fugue state. He granted her several moments of lucidity per day, but she's not sure with what regularity that occurred.
Okay, then.
But she knows that the contract will be fulfilled because she will no longer be magically bound to any person.
Lovely. So yeah,
I have an idea for this. If you might, tomorrow I will try working a very powerful divination magic on this contract and see if we can't suss out some more of the details.
that might work, considering we're no longer in the abyss.
Divination's pretty reliable in Sigil. Unless you're trying to contact the Lady of Pain, don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
So once I have time to, prep my spells, I'll gather anyone who's interested together, and I will cast Legend Lore.
Once you're ready, just let me know, and we'll handle this.
Okay, bear with me just 1 second.
Mahogany's having a really good day.
That kid was selling magazine subscriptions anyway.
He must have been a clueless, because no Sigillian would ask me for a moment of my time.
So what is Mahogany? What are your plans? Just waiting until they're ready to go and then go to the gym?
I was actually gonna horn in on this devil conversation.
Okay.
Okay.
Feel free.
So yeah, the next day I'll cast Legend Lore and name the contract. What does the Succubus have? Do you have a name?
Her name's Izena.
Izena.
Yes, and I will name the contract binding Izena to previously the service of Duke Grand Starius, but now the service of Liberation as the thing I want to figure out.
All right, let me read this spell here.
You know, while Mahogany's talking to Liberation, and he says, I don't get it, she's a fiend. Why don't you just tell her you're stronger than her and she needs to piss off?
Because I'm not. I try not to be that much of a jerk, but
Nath, are you wearing your hard hat? Excuse me, your hard hat outfit when you go to procure these spell components, or did you already have them?
I've already had. The spell components were what I spend a bunch of my starting money on.
Okay.
So that's the only one I had for Legend Lore.
Gotcha.
it requires some heavy cost experience or component.
It's a
Yeah,
big
it's fairly expensive.
Kelian.
That's me.
You do some asking around in the bazaar, and it's actually fairly dead. I mean, it's still buzzing. There's still lots of people here, but not the crowds that you're used to seeing. And word on the street is that some high up in the governor's, I mean, the Harmonium's still in control of the place. But word on the street is that some high up in the governor's is taking a bite out of the Harmonium by offering the denizens of Bazaar some kind of sweet deal. So when you get here, shops that you're used to seeing open are closed down. A lot of stalls are packed up and not available. And it actually takes you the better part of a day before somebody points you in the direction of an old Cambion who may have the type of artifact you're looking for. His name is Rule of Three.
Rule 3?
Rule of
Rule
Three.
of three.
Okay.
In this particular Cambion, he doesn't have a residence or a shop or anything like that. He's just one of these guys that hangs around. He knows people who knows people, and anybody can put you in contact with him. So you spend the better part of a day hunting this guy down before you find him in the dark corner of a dive bar. And looking at this guy, he looks extremely disheveled. But you can tell, because you're a man of wealth and taste yourself, that at least part of that is an act.
Okay.
For example, at first glance, it looks like this man is blind. His eyes are just milky and rolled back in his head. And he very rarely moves his head or moves his eyes to look around. But something about him strikes you as he's seeing more than anybody else in this room. And in fact, by the time you move to approach him, he greets you by name.
I see you've heard of me.
He says he wouldn't have allowed you to find him if he hadn't heard you'd come looking.
Of course, of course. So then you know it is. Then you know why it is I'm here.
He says, before I'm going to negotiate anything with you, before I take your money, I need you to know 3 rules of doing business. Number 1, all sales are final. Once money exchanges hands, I don't hear any complaints. I don't see your face again unless you come around with more money and new business. He says, number 2, I'm not responsible for anything that happens. If the thing breaks, doesn't work, it's not on me. Number 3,
Rule 3.
if you're not carrying money, we don't have a deal. How much do you have?
That's a good question. How much does Kelian have on him? He's got 47 gold on him.
So how much do you tell him you have?
Kelian says, I understand you run the business the way you run your business, but I wouldn't be a good businessman either if I don't at least have some sort of proof or confirmation or something that I'm not just going to hand you a sack of cash and you just hand me a blank piece of paper, for example.
He says he didn't ask you to hand him any money. He asked how much you're carrying.
Got 47 jink on me.
And he
Means copper.
Is it jink? No, copper's greens, I've wrote.
Yeah, McDohl's right.
Jink.
Jinx is gold.
Planescape lied to me.
And rule of 3, like, feigns shock and amazement. Like, wow, 47. Didn't realize I was dealing with such a high roller. I can see you're not a waste of my time. But is it fair to assume that you have wealth in excess of 47 whole gold pieces? I'm sure you had to wash a lot of windows to achieve that amount of money.
I may. I am a businessman, and I do enjoy my investments.
He asks what it is you want.
I want something that can resist the charm of a succubus.
He says, I didn't ask what you want to buy. I asked, what do you want?
Say it.
And he finishes off this mug of black viscous liquor that he's drinking.
Kelian does not like that question. Kelian says, I want the experience of betting a succubus.
He says rather than sell you some magic trinket that you think will protect you, he can give you 3 pieces of advice on how to get that experience. Number 1, don't. The succubus will kill you. Number 2,
Market for a trinket.
if you really feel like this is an experience you have to have, he is certain the Society of Sensation would be happy to oblige. And third, if for some reason the sensory stone is not enough, buy her time. By the time of a succubus owned by a fiend you trust. And then he asks, are there any fiends that you trust?
In Kelian's mind, liberation is like waving at him. Maybe. Maybe.
He asks you to reach under your chair.
Sure, Kelian's along for the ride at this point.
You get a car.
And you but you can't keep it because you only have 47 gold. You can't afford to pay the taxes on it. No, you find a small box. It's a wooden box, but it's wrapped in a thin layer of cloth. And in the dingy light of this place, it's hard to tell what color it is. You set it on the table in front of you. Looks about the size of your smoke box. He says that inside this box is a magic charm from the abyss that he has been told can prevent some percentage of the magical effects of laying with a succubus. That if this is a foolish endeavor that you've had your heart set on, he's happy to take your money and leave you with this magic item. And as always, I have 3 pieces of advice for use of this item.
Okay.
When you lay with her, there are 3 rules you must follow. Number 1, treat every word as a lie. Number 2, and he gestures down to your lap, and he says, she's interested in your soul, not your manhood. And number 3, he says with a smile as he leans back in his chair, says, my friend, you will never know pleasure so great again. The price is 47 pieces of gold.
I mean, I can get more if you really want more. This
is 47 is what the item is worth.
All right. Kelian forks over the money.
And he does some kind of magical cantrip to ensure that the gold is real before he carefully pockets it. He stands up, pats you on the back, says, enjoy yourself, my friend.
Kelian opens the box. There's nothing inside!
No, inside is an amulet.
Okay.
Made out of just a flattened disc of iron. And it seems to be featureless on either side. It's about as big around maybe as like a 50-cent piece. And it's just threaded on like a very hastily twisted piece of hemp or twine.
Mm. Okay. Le amulet. And Kelian, once this is all taken care of, he's going to go to his bestest friend in the world, Liberation.
Liberation and the others are all sitting around discussing this contract nonsense, or possibly waiting for Destil to finish casting Legend Lore.
So Destil, when
yeah.
you cast Legend Lore, what is the name that you give?
The contract. What was the succubus's name again? I'll write it down this time.
Her name's
Izena.
Izena.
Izena. The contract binding Izena to Liberation Services.
You cast the spell, and it consumes your 250 gold worth of incense, which I imagine like a huge pile of incense. Like, that's a lot of incense.
It's probably just really high quality, I would think, but...
Doesn't really matter which. It's magic.
I'm sure Mahogany's really intrigued by this.
And the spell gives you pieces of her very unsettling personal history, the countless lives she's destroyed on the prime material plane in service to some abyssal lord or another. She's done work on both sides of the blood war, and for centuries she relished in this work. When it comes to the details of contract binding her to liberation, though, you get nothing. And I don't mean you get something cryptic or something unhelpful. I mean, there's not anything there. There doesn't seem to be anything binding her to liberation.
Are we in the rat hole?
You're wherever you need to be.
We could be wherever you want, baby boy.
And if so, obviously I've cast Private Sanctum. I'm going to be spending time in the rat hole. I will motion to liberation. Can I speak to you outside for a moment?
Sure. Step
After the
outside with
spell's
him.
being cast. And kill a rat. Go outside. There is no contract. The spell gave me a lot of information about her life and her acts, but as far as I can tell, she's lying.
Okay. All right then. Well, hopefully that makes
Now,
things
to be
a
fair,
little more complicated.
I specifically asked for a contract binding her to your service. So if for some reason it's still binding her to Grand Stereus, or some other reason that the divination might fail because that doesn't actually exist because of technicalities, it's not impossible. But as far as I can tell,
Either way, she's a threat. So we need to. You think we should just confront her with this knowledge?
I mean, what do you plan to do with her after? Let's say the best case that she admits to having lied, and then says that she wants to stay around you because she will. What would you prefer to do at that point?
I don't want her around anywhere near me. I don't.
I will. Liberation. This is a creature of utter, disgusting chaos and evil. You would be well within your rights to destroy her for the action she'd take.
So what Nath is
The
saying,
course of her immortal life.
if I'm hearing Nath correctly, he's saying, I ain't saying she's a gold digger.
She ain't messing with no broke.
She's a
I
player.
will defer to you on what we should do with this, but if you need my support, I have several powerful offensive magics prepared today, and if you want my advice, I would say we step back in, and as soon as I clear the portal, I disintegrate her. If that doesn't work, you follow up with 4 or 5 punches. If that doesn't work, I will be highly disappointed in you, and C, I will believe I've underestimated you, and B, I will hit her with another stronger disintegrate. And if that doesn't work, I'm changing my vocation.
Can Kelian walk in at this point? In the
Absolutely.
conversation?
This sounds good.
Kelian walks in and before the conversation, ignoring everybody else, holding out the amulet, and just goes, "Hey, Liberation, is this magical or not?"
Detect magic.
And it has a powerful abjuration magic on it. It's nothing to look at, but it's genuine. It's magical. You can't tell if it's genuine.
It'll protect you from something. What? I have no idea, but it'll protect you from something.
Excellent.
Meanwhile, on the inside of the rat hole with the succubus, Mahogany turns to the succubus. So what's your deal, keeping in mind that I don't care?
The advantage is she can't teleport outside of the rat hole right now, unlike normally if we had her cornered, fiend cornered, thanks to the sanctum. So that's why my advice would be, if you want to do this, we should do it now.
So what is the decision on what to do with Izena the Succubus?
Liberation's going to go back into the rat hole and confront her.
And when you go back in, she's actually taking actions to tidy up the place and make it more presentable. Stacking boxes and sweeping acres of dirt off the floor and carefully arranging hundreds of dead rats.
And Liberation's going to say, now, I don't know if it's some kind of trick or whatever, but the results of my friend's spell were that you're not beholden to me in any way.
And she tells you that cannot be.
Can I make an insight check on that?
Mahogany starts laughing.
Can I decide if I actually believe that? I have a fairly high insight score.
You can make a roll if it makes you feel better. Mahogany. Because you were in there alone with her being rude to her.
Yeah.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah.
Riot wants no part of this succubus business. Is that...
Yeah, I failed.
Yeah,
You
well, it
fail.
doesn't-
Got a
12.
23 on in. Got a
I don't know,
23
maybe-
on insight.
Okay.
Maybe the save's low. I got a 12.
I mean, I'm not going to dictate whether or not Nath believes her, but you just used very, very powerful magic to fact check
Yeah.
and got nothing. And as you
This is
say,
just
it's her nature.
Yeah.
Mahogany, you're not immune to being charmed, are you?
No.
Then yeah, you are absolutely charmed by the succubus. She's very aloof and very distant towards you. Because you opened the
Mahogany's
conversation
into
with,
that.
so I'm going to ask you some stuff, and I don't really care, so I'm not going to listen. And, I mean, she chides you for being rude. She tells you how undesirable she finds you. And the more she negs on you, the stronger and stronger your attraction to her gets. To the point that you are just hanging on her every word. By the time Liberation and Nath and Kelian come back into the rat hole, you are absolutely under her spell.
Yeah, great.
So you come back in, Nath, and you tell her that there's nothing binding you to Liberation, and she tells you that can't be possible.
Just
Well-
shake my head no at liberation.
That it's not possible, but that seems to be the case. I have no reason to mistrust this man, and to be quite frank, I have a lot of reason to mistrust you.
Kelian quietly puts on the amulet.
Just slips it over your neck.
Hey, he fucked up my hard head thing.
Make a dexterity sleight of hand check.
Okay, I think I'm.
Izena looks really hurt when you accuse her of lying, and she looks to Mahogany.
No, I'm luckying that. That's nonsense.
Oh, I've got an idea. And Mahogany
Alright. Big
Mahogany says, "Listen, Liberation, isn't your whole thing that you're supposed to see the
Awesome.
best in everyone?
Practically
Let me
all of
make
my
a
lucky.
persuasion check."
That is a 12 on the sleight of hand, by the way.
Okay.
It was not happening.
I saw it.
Burned through all my
It's
lucky
better
tokens.
My
That's a
best is better.
6.
I got +3 to insight.
These rolls
Oh,
aren't
yeah,
going to mean
it's-
anything. I didn't call for those. But yeah, keep rolling dice if it makes you feel better. Mahogany.
Yeah.
Your friends come in, and they accuse the succubus of lying to him about the terms of this contract. To which she looks a little bit hurt and kind of confused. And she says, "I've been speaking with your friend Mahogany in some detail about this.
I bet
Knowing
you have.
knowing that he is a spellcaster himself, he'll vouch for me that this contract is so powerful it can't
Spell
be
magic
sensed."
on Mahogany.
And Mahogany, you are compelled to do exactly what she says as far as vouching for her.
Yeah, and Mahogany says to Liberation, Liberation, isn't your whole thing as a godsman and the essence of your being that you're supposed to see the best in everyone?
I'm gonna walk over behind Mahogany, put my hand on him, and cast protection from evil.
So, are you casting Dispel Magic first?
Oh, I thought you didn't hear me there.
I did.
I'm gonna take my non-cipher bonus and go with protection from evil instead.
Okay.
Liberation smiles.
Okay.
And he says, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. Because if she is beholden to what I say as she claims, then Liberation is going to say, all right then. What? Then you wouldn't mind doing a favor for me. I want you, of your own volition, to go perform one act of charity. Get nothing in return for yourself. do it out of sheer altruism.
Mahogany.
Yeah.
Nath, your spell goes off, and as far as you know, it worked.
Yeah.
Mahogany, you feel not even the slightest bit different.
Yeah, and like she says, I mean, magic's really complicated, and some spells are better than others. And then Mahogany looks at Nath like, right?
I used a fairly potent valency for this one, believe me.
Izena then, she tells
See, I don't even
Liberation.
know what that word means.
She says that doing this might put her at considerable risk, that Sigil is a vast and dangerous city, that she would need someone with her to protect her from the evils of Sigil.
Oh, I'll protect you.
So she asks and of course I know very little about, and she says this kind of sheepishly, about acts of charity. Perhaps one of your companions, and she's still ignoring Mahogany as much as possible.
Sure, good is easy. I do that all the time.
So does Liberation give his assent to allow some of his companions to go with her and protect her as she performs this act?
Sure. Yeah, Nath, if you feel comfortable going with her, then that's fine.
I don't like the way Nath looks at her.
Riot.
Mm-hmm.
While you're tending to some business at your church, there is a fairly big to-do out in the street. It seems that a fight has broken out, and some of your acolytes are already out there trying to break things up. When you look out the window and see what's going on down there,
Yeah, let me go find Eriador.
find Eriador. Okay.
Have him help me take care of this.
Have you armed him with anything?
Oh yeah, I guess he wasn't armed when we got him, huh?
No, he was wearing like rags and a loincloth when you got him.
Yeah. What have I got for Eriador? I'll just say that I've armed him with like just basic armor and a short sword.
Okay. Seems that a fight has broken out between two gangs of children in this area, because your church is... Oh, actually, we have it on the map somewhere now.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
it marked.
There it is, yeah.
That's down
Near to
there.
the Hall of Records.
From what you can ascertain, having gone out and kind of broken up this fight, and when I say children, I mean think like newsies, like children between like the ages of 6 all the way up to like 19 on either side.
Yeah.
There's a flurry of handbills covering the street right outside of your church. It seems as though there's some confusion as to which handbills are real and which ones are not. And that's all you get when you come out of the church with Eriador.
I'm gonna try and make a persuasion check on these kids to like settle down.
To get them to settle down?
Yeah, tell them. Yeah, hey, listen, this is a house of worship. You're disturbing people.
So, to be clear, you're not taking a side here. You're just trying to diffuse the whole situation.
Yeah, like until I can figure out what exactly is going on further.
Okay. Go ahead and make a check. Do that charisma persuasion. Or strength persuasion if you're trying to threaten them.
Yeah. So it's a 32.
Okay. Having come out, taking kind of control of the situation, you get the sense that they're kind of looking to you. As you came out, you took control. They're kind of looking to you to mediate this problem now, since you're the adult here.
I'll ask him to give me one of each handbills so I can read them over.
They look pretty similar. The main difference is that one is on much lower grade paper. It looks as though one of them is genuine and the other was cheaply knocked off. And the handbill reads, recent bizarre troubles, damaged goods or property, suffered injury at the hands of the Harmonium, you may be entitled to a settlement. Get justice today. Contact Lois Vesterhoff, Sigil City Courts. And it says, a Harris Hatchis handbill. But the name Hatchis is misspelled on the knockoff. And then
Okay.
most of the center of it is taken up with a picture of this scraggly-looking Sigillian. And his face has been worked over, and he's got a big bruise and a black eye, and he's missing a teeth, but he's grinning ear to ear, and he's holding a big sack of coin.
This is the best thing.
All right.
And I'll at this point I'll demonstrate the differences between them. Say, look, here, this is the real one. You can see that I know Harris Hatches. This is how he spells his name. He wouldn't skimp out on paper like this, and I waved the fake ones around. But they all say the same thing, so it doesn't really matter which one's real.
And one of the boys explains that Harris Hatches is paying them a copper to hand out 100 handbills, but to stay out of the hive, and that these other boys have apparently figured out a way to duplicate these handbills so they can get on the action. So it's not about who has the real ones. They know which one's real and which is fake. It's just one group of boys doesn't think it's fair that the other group of boys gets this job and they don't. And then the second group of boys doesn't think it's fair that hivers have been left out of this situation.
Well, hang on for a second. Who's paying you to distribute the real ones?
One of Harris Hatches' clerks.
And who's paying to distribute the fake ones?
And the boys look back and forth between themselves, and you get the sense that they hadn't thought that far ahead.
Right, says, how many of these fakes do you have?
And you see dozens of them strewn around, and some of the boys are still carrying stacks of them in their hand. Somebody has been churning these out somewhere in the hive.
Right. So, I can't pay for everything, but you guys distribute. I agree that it isn't fair that the hive is left out. I agree that everyone should get to make money. I will pay for the distribution, same rate as Hedges, 1 copper a sheet.
Well, it was 1 per 100. 1 copper for 100 sheets.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Riot will pay 1 silver for, and she thinks for a second, for 1,000 sheets.